Okay, Girl Scouts, lead us out. Okay, musicians, gather by Meg.
And hang on. Yeah.
Stay with this.
Everybody is coming.
Yeah. We're marching. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine.
Don't cry.
Happy tears. We're marching.
Yeah. And we're doing.
Yeah.
You know who you are?
Girlscouts go ahead of me.
Let it shine, let it shine.
Like, who do you think you are?
That says follow over there.
Rosie, you want to jump in? Are you sure?
Why are the cars right there?
They're stopping the traffic so we can march.
What's going to happen when we have to walk up there?
We're gonna march right down the middle of town. And we're not gonna let anybody stop us. Not even the traffic.
I'm so excited. Just stay there.
Wave your flag.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But it went.
First Institutional Baptist Church in Phoenix served as the first general chairperson for Arizonans for Martin Luther King Jr. state holiday, which contributed significantly to the legislative passage of Arizona's Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on September 21st, 1989. Reverend Stewart also organized and led Victory Together, a broad-based coalition that campaigned for Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day in Arizona, which was won by a historic vote of the people in the general election on November 3rd, 1992. In 1986, there was an Arizona House bill to create a Martin Luther King holiday. The bill would have created the MLK holiday by combining existing state holidays for Washington and Lincoln into President's Day. The bill was defeated by one vote. After the bill was defeated, the issue of the MLK holiday in Arizona became emotional. 9 days after the MLK holiday bill was defeated in 1986, Governor Bruce Babbitt issued an executive order to create the MLK holiday. When Evan Meekum became 87, he immediately resented the holiday, claiming that the holiday was illegally created. Meekum offered a Civil Rights Day holiday. Arizona was the last state in the union to formally install an MLK holiday, but Arizona was the only state to approve the holiday by popular acclamation. I was born in Phoenix and I moved to Prescott Valley in 1988. In Phoenix, I had volunteered to serve on the Victory Together committee with Reverend Stewart, still pastor of the same church, and other civil rights leaders, civil rights and community leaders. I would attend meetings, prayer services, and fundraising dinners. I have participated in all of Martin Luther King parades and parades and marches in Phoenix. I took it upon myself to write many letters to the editors of Arizona newspapers which spoke as to why we should have the holiday and make it a legal holiday, and why Martin Luther King Jr. deserves such recognition. With my having been a state employee for 33 years and an active member of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Union, can everyone hear me okay? Yes. I testified before a few legislative committees in support of the holiday. When I moved to Prescott Valley, I continued to write letters to the editors on the holiday, which is yet to be a legal paid holiday. Block letters to the editors on the holiday and other issues as well. Because my name, address, and phone number were listed in the phone books, I received many hateful and unkind letters in response to my letters. I received a few death threats. One person asked me if I knew what they did to people like me in Louisiana. He proceeded to tell me that they would throw people like me into the swamps with the alligators. Back then, the Prescott Courier published online comments to letters to the editor. Most comments did not speak to the issue, but to me as a person. Of the many hate letters I received, not one was signed nor had a return address. Not one person had the intestinal fortitude or testicular fortitude to reply to name and addresses. There were quite a few letters published in the Courier that said the likes of James said, this is quote, the likes of James Hines and his ilk have been raised swimming here. There were those who told me to go back to where I came from. One person told me to go back to the farm. I still don't know what he meant by that. In 1990, there was a Talk of the Town, which is a guest editorial. There was a Talk of the Town article published stating that the writer came here to escape from the likes of James Hines and that I should move to the People's Republic of New York. I did follow up with a letter stating that I had no plans to leave. I'm still here, and I'm still writing, marching, and protesting. And I forgot that I sometimes hesitate too. With this year's theme being Love in Action, I must tell you that not one person who wrote to me or called me at my home provoked anger or hate. So with our now celebrating the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, I believe that all of us have the responsibility to speak out against hate and racism and violence. We should all stand up for the values we represent: equality and equal opportunity, inclusiveness, fairness, and we can speak out and stand up for freedom, justice, peace, and love. Equally important, let us always remember that love always prevails.
Clap your hands.
To all of you, thank you for your commitment to civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights, gay rights, immigrant rights, voters' rights, and human rights. And I hope I didn't forget anything there. Thank you for keeping the dream alive. Thank you very much to all of you. I wish you love and peace.
I, so good Mayor of the City of Prescott, do hereby proclaim the Dr. Martin Luther Jr. holiday to be a day of service in Prescott and call upon the people of Prescott to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. King through participation in community service projects on Martin Luther King Day and throughout the year. In witness thereof, I have hereupon set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Prescott to affix this day, the 9th of January, 2024. Thank you all very much.
Description of what Rainbow Acres is. It is a wonderful ranch in Camp Verde, beautiful Camp Verde, and our ranchers, as we call them there, are residents there. They live in several homes that we have caregivers for. We also have nursing and an academy where we teach them life skills as well as the arts, art, music, etc. We also have a beautiful barn where we grow vegetables and wonderful things that they actually eat on campus. And we have horses and goats. And the choir you see before you is our ambassador choir, and they are invited several times a year to go out and represent Rainbow Acres. It is a home for intellectually and developmentally disabled adults, and they are incredible. So, without further ado, the Rainbow Acres Ambassador Choir.
No, he doesn't. You know, is he ready to sing?
I was nervous before I got up there. Like, and people are like, nervous? Really? You do this? The thing is, I always get nervous when I have a message that I know is important. And there has never been a more important time in my life that I can recall. And I want to thank the choir for centering me and reminding us of how great, for those of you who believe, and if you don't, we love you and it doesn't mean any different, but for those who believe, how great our God is. And if we're going to be here in God's house, honoring a man of God who literally lost his life and was murdered for simply wanting everyone to be able to live equally. Simply that. That's not radical. It's not leftist or rightist. It's not Democrat or Republican. That's just human nature. Is it not? Yeah. So I felt compelled as a result of the conversation we had at Bill's Grill last night to completely change my entire program that I had planned to do. And I want you all to stay with me because this is important. If you've never heard me speak before, it is important that you understand that I speak truth to power. I speak honestly. I speak to you as we are all family, and the family that I come from, if there are things you need to say, you speak in an uncomfortable manner. Oh, yeah. And I speak this way because I love you. It is not hate speech. This is love speech. So I need you to hear what I'm saying. And in hopes to do that, we're going to start this off with a preface from a quote from President Barack Obama. This contest is not new, of course. In many ways, it has defined the American experience. It's embedded in founding documents that could simultaneously proclaim all men and women equal, yet count a slave as 3/5 of a man. It finds expression in our earliest court opinions, as when the Chief Justice of the United States bluntly explained to Native Americans that their tribe's rights to convey property aren't enforceable because the court of the conqueror has no capacity to recognize the just claims of the conquered. It is a contest that's been fought on the fields of Gettysburg and Appomattox, but also in the halls of Congress, on a bridge in Selma, Alabama, across the vineyards of California, and down the streets of New York. A contest fought by soldiers, but more often by union organizers, suffragists, Pullman porters, student leaders, waves of immigrants and LGBTQ activists armed with nothing more than picket signs, pamphlets, or a pair of marching shoes. At the heart of this long-running battle is a simple question. Do we care to match the reality of America to its ideals? If so, do we really believe that our nations of self-government and individual freedom, equality and opportunity and equality before the law apply to everybody? Or are we instead committed, in practice, if not in statute, to reserving those things for a privileged few? We were never meant to bend voluntarily, only forcibly on the slave ships of some other people's will. In America's mind, we're still nothing more than the third pick in the slavery draft, with ideals of bending our backs, transforming cotton into cash, and receiving lashes for speaking back. Nigga, know your place. Learn what race is. Understand your race was never meant to come first in anything other than races. America had no plan for us after slavery. Made us criminals just for breathing. Created game. Deconstructed Reconstruction era to give white folk broke like us something to lose. Choose between skin privilege or persecution. Keep game moving along. Rewrite rules. Force us to be the only ones to adhere to them. Make us eat Jim's Crow until it becomes our best friend. Make us sit in back of bus. Call us outcasts. Cast out over 3,000 bitten, broken pieces of strange fruit throughout your stolen country. Come see who the big boys really are. Give boys guns and badges to badger us. Keep cops closer to young black boys than their own fathers. Make message clear to them that patrol lights on the wrong night might mean the end of them. Feed fear into them. Infect them with viral killings on Facebook live feeds like IVs. Keep game moving along. Call society post-racial to race away from reality. Let schools waste away so that kids in math class can't understand how 53% of white women subtracted 8 years of progress by thinking 45 was this country's solution. Let him do worse than worse stereotypes of Obama. Turn White House into Jerry Springer. Let his baby mama call out new foreign chick in front of American audience like some reality show. Let reality show you that fake stereotypes about blacks don't match real life with this dude, but don't call him out because he looks like you. Ignore the war on drugs. Call us thugs, yet call heroin addicts opioid victims because they look like you. Play Anthem.
Come on now.
Francis Scott's Songs in the Key of White. Force so-called free men to stand for soundtrack to their own Holocaust. Cost them sponsors if they talk. Cost them money if they talk. Cost them lives if they talk. Make sure them niggas know they place. Place journalists, what up Jamel Hill? Place journalists to higher standards than so-called commander-in-chief. Demand we speak only when you tell us to. Call my black women sassy or opinionated for taking a position other than missionary or doggy style. Meanwhile, ignore the blood that's fallen from the leaves. Capping us is why Kaepernick took a knee. Yet watch them steal the narrative like slaves stolen from overseas. Enjoy the irony of so-called free men being ridiculed by star-spangled wearing hypocrites who sit. Keep telling us the game don't exist. Yet make sure your television is the closest we ever come to your residence. Say I don't see color, therefore making ignoring black pain that much more evidence. Don't get the message unless the messenger looks like you. Because we were never meant to be friends in the first place, right? We're only here to entertain and sustain you. Maybe that's why when I moved here 10 years ago with locks down to my butt, every white person I met started by saying, you look like Larry Fitzgerald or Lil Wayne, dude. It's the same game. You ignore our pain as if it's martial law. That's why you didn't pay attention until Marshall Mathers talked. That's how you skip over 400 years of history for a 4-minute freestyle from a white boy, because white privilege is just like Facebook. You can't hear me speak if we ain't friends to begin with. And we ain't been friends for a long time, because if we were, it would not have taken this poem to make the obvious evident ever since we were stolen and brought here. We were never meant to bend voluntarily. Yet here we stand. You cannot ignore us. You will not derail our narrative. Understand it is not your job to police our pain. Understand your silence is white supremacy's accomplice. Understand, America, you got a lot of work to do. Because my people did enough for free. If he can handle the death threats, so can I. And I received them. Just for saying the truth about poems and sharing the truth about my reality. So if I can share with you briefly, as I was coming in yesterday, I was greeted by a pickup truck with about 24 Trump flags hanging from this one truck. And for those of you who don't understand or don't know, a Trump flag nowadays is essentially a gang sign. If you want to talk more about that, there's a breakout session later. But you need to understand that the same way that burning crosses were used in the 50s when my father and my mother were growing up, and how the Klan would attack my grandparents when they were growing up in the South, Trump flags are that now.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to understand. I was told yesterday, and this comment changed the whole dynamic of the direction of what I'm saying. I was told that Prescott is known as everybody's hometown. I believe that that is a beautiful goal to reach for. Before I was a full-time artist, I had to believe in myself, because I started off as a double major in mechanical engineering and physics, and had to tell my parents, hey, I'm gonna be a poet. And my parents told me, follow your dreams. Whatever you say, we believe you wholeheartedly. I say that, thank you. I say that not for applause or accolades, but I say that to say that if Prescott calls itself everybody's hometown, then every time we say that, and I say we because this is my second time I'm here, so since y'all ain't getting rid of me, and we family from now on. So every time we see each other, there should be a smile on our face. There shouldn't be a competition. We should not treat politics like football, because it doesn't matter what color jersey you're wearing, we're all on the same team. And if we are really all on the same team, then we need to do the work to make this everybody's hometown. Marching is one thing. Doing the footwork is completely different. So if we want to make this everybody's hometown, everybody should feel comfortable here. Black, white, gay, straight, trans, I don't care what you are. If you are breathing, you best believe this is a place for you. We cannot do that if we don't have simple things. The same things that King was fought in and lost his life for. Simple things like voting rights. This next piece is entitled Lift Every Voice. What do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. In 2020, Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck. Breonna Taylor was murdered where she slept. We voted. And the response? An insurrection attempt on Capitol steps, fake audits, and over 400 laws written to restrict votes only where we rest. You gotta see how this all connects. Worse yet, the GOP's lawyer, time out. Today is supposed to be the day of service, right? King holiday is a nationally recognized holiday as a day of service. Yet there is one of our national parties that is solely focused on attaining power today. That's not coincidence. I just wanted to share that, just food for thought. The GOP's lawyer told the Supreme Court to its face that protecting voting rights, that democracy, hurts Republicans. No. We gotta call it what it is, y'all. Democracy is a threat to white supremacy. And we can no longer afford to ignore the elephant in the room or expect help from elephants who view black and brown voices as insects to be stomped out. This is a warning. What do you call a democracy that's not a democracy for all? It is apartheid South Africa reinvented, intended on keeping political power in the whites-only section. Question, whenever has minority progress in this country come under bipartisanship? Answer, nowhere near as many times as the filibuster has been used to prevent it. Meanwhile, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin stand by like Minnesota cops, hands in pockets while the racist filibuster leaves democracy wheezing, barely breathing, barely speaking. Meanwhile, our so-called representatives are more focused on social media posts than their co-workers trying to steal their constituents' votes, which either makes them aloof, insincere, naive, stupid, or complicit. Now, which is, this isn't the time for political theater, Ms. Sinema. This story, we've seen this movie play out throughout Reconstruction, come in the form of a so-called Southern Compromise, disguised as states' rights, disguised as protected racism, which birthed the nation that birthed the Klan. Man, we've lived through this nightmare before, and still do. As a black man in America, I've grown accustomed to being shown how white lies, laws, and violence threaten black and brown lives. I know trouble when I see it. Maybe that's why they don't want us to go to schools to teach it. Maybe that's why they don't want to speak and are raising our voices at the polls, because elections are supposed to have consequences. Ain't that right, Ms. McConnell? But racists don't believe in accountability from those they don't view as equals. Maybe she don't see it because she ain't been affected yet, but this is her warning. It's time that we made amends with the fact that America's amendments never mended America's racism, and that this nation has far to go to making its promise clean to all. Martin told us over 60 years ago that America was then a century overdue in doing right by all of her citizens of color. Those same manacles and chains remain today throughout legislation. 6 decades later, we find ourselves on democracy's edge, and instead of removing a racist rule used to try to subdue us, now Not in 2017 when there was FL and Snowflake. Now, we hear calls for bipartisanship for those more focused on power than the people. Voting is power for all people, but certain people want to see black and brown voices reduced to the size of a peephole. I thought America didn't negotiate with terrorists. Foreign, domestic, or elected. Y'all, they tried to steal a damn election. Now they want cooperation and acceptance. We say hell no. The only effective method is that voting rights for all are protected. This should be the last summer any eligible American has a harder time voting than owning a gun. The last summer. We have representatives that don't represent the people. The last summer, I have to worry about my unborn grandchildren fighting the same fights my deceased great-grandparents had to. Why do we have fewer voting rights in 2024 than in 1965? If you can't read in between the lines, just listen to what my ancestors have been saying since the day they stole us. You owe us. Don't forget who the first person was, Crispus Attucks, to die for this nation in battle. You owe us. Pop quiz. What's minimum wage for a slave times 24 hours a day times 365 times 244 years? Answer. You owe us. Remind me whose original land I'm standing on while I'm performing this poem. You owe us all. Because a nation should never write a constitution all of its people can't cash. Again, I ask, what do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. But then you fix it. Yeah. So let's get to work. Yeah. Through darkness, my ancestors, stolen property in a foreign land, navigated evils to find their freedom. Optimism and determination are genetic, coming from ancestors once enslaved, stripped of their names but not their glory. Their dreams run through my veins, as does their pain. And just because that makes you uncomfortable doesn't give you permission to change my story, our story. History repeats itself every time we don't learn or listen, yet every time enough of us come together, I've seen change make a difference. As a youth, I witnessed sports transform strangers into teammates, watched game winners create embraces between people who wouldn't even acknowledge each other otherwise. It's amazing how an arena can unify us across the same lines some try to use to divide us. But justice is not a game. It is James Weldon Johnson's lyrics living. It is victory for all, not just a few winning or one hue sitting above another as superior. History repeats itself every time we don't learn or listen. See, my elders told me, baby, we can sing together, but we can't talk together. Meaning it's impossible for you to hear someone else while they are speaking. We can't be on the same accord if you ignore what I've seen. Whether it's a brother shot in a Honda or a sister shot in her sleep, no matter what, they still can't kill our dreams. Liberty and justice for all should be a standard and not just a catchphrase. History repeats itself when we don't listen. Unity without accountability makes one complicit. Coming together can't mean walking away. Not like yesterday, yesteryear, slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarcerations. Wounds don't heal by ignoring them. Wrongs aren't fixed by imploring for change while trying to change the subject. Anything worth having is worth working for. Like marching on until victory is seen by all. Victory looks like Martin's dream realized and the Black Panthers' mission fulfilled. All power to all people, seeing eye to eye. Victory looks like America living up to her promise for once. And the burden to keep it falls upon all of us. We bear America's scars, old and new, from slavery ships to insurrection attempts, but today feels different. Today feels like opportunity. Today requires listening, needs equality as the standard and accountability as a love language. Today requires courage together. You must understand, we have seen enough darkness, and no longer can we simply ignore or navigate through our evils. Today, it is time to listen to our history and learn for a better tomorrow. Thank you for your time.
Everything he had to his community and to this country. He did everything he could, ultimately giving his life to do so. And while in total that sounds like a very difficult path to follow, he began day after day with simple, small, easy steps. And everyone here can do the same. Across the country today, AmeriCorps volunteers like myself and my peers back there are joining with service organizations throughout their communities to make what differences they can. And we want to challenge you today to do the same. Because what our community really needs is people who are willing to put in the time and the work, even just a few hours every day, to make differences in the ways that they can. Which is why this year we are working hand in hand with organizations throughout our community, like the school district, like Prescott Area Shelter Services, like the Prescott Valley Diaper Bank, to create opportunities for you today, this afternoon, to join with us and start making those small differences in the ways that you can. We want to make taking those first steps as easy for you as possible. Because, as I said, people throughout our community need help. They need your help. And the only way for us to really make a difference, for us to make things better, is for all of us to come together, to work together to make those changes. If you're not going to join with our projects today, that's great. If you have your own arrangements, if you have a faith organization that you would like to work with, if you have another service organization, like the Launchpad that will be speaking after me, then please work with them. And if you would like to work with us, after the ceremony, we're going to be waiting out in front of the church for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we would be happy to sign you up for anything you would like to do. But more than that, if you can take away one thing, just one thing that I've said today, maybe just one thing from this ceremony, it's that the theme today is love in action. And love in action requires action. So don't just say, don't just think, don't just show. Do what you can to make a difference. Thank you.